There are a million versions of tote bags out there. But why not one more? Totes are popular for a reason. They're relatively easy to make, super useful, and there's so much room for customization. And did I mention they're the easiest bags to make? Today's project stands out for two reasons: the materials and the simplicity of the pattern. It's literally 3 rectangles, about as easy as a pattern can get. And you can download this one-page cheat sheet from the description below. But we'll also have measurements on screen during the build. This fabric is called Phifertex, and I've been wanting to make a bag out of it for years. It's a vinyl-coated polyester, which is really strong while being partially see-through. This is the standard version, and this version has a different weave pattern. But why would you want a bag full of holes? I'm calling this the beach and boat tote because every material used is water resistant. Not the kind of water resistant where you can dunk it in the water and all your stuff stays dry, but the kind that sheds water really easily after the bag inevitably gets filled with wet or sandy gear. You can hose it off at the end of the day and it'll be dry in no time. It also allows airflow to prevent towels or clothes from getting musty. And if you're worried about sand getting into the bag, I did think about that. The wicker woven Phifertex has a tighter weave, so I use that for the bottom to help keep sand out. Phifertex is technically a mesh, but probably not the kind you're used to. It has no stretch and a good amount of rigidity, so it's perfect for making a bag. This is a more typical mesh that's very flexible, and I'll use this for the side pockets. I used 1-inch webbing for the handles and to line the mesh pockets. I cut my handles 48 inches long, and the strips for the top of the pockets are each 10.5 inches. Here's everything cut out. The front, back, and bottom are all the same size. The only difference is the bottom is the wicker woven Phifertex. There's 2 center pockets in the same fabric and 4 mesh pockets. The first sewing to do is to prep the pockets. The webbing strips get sewn to the mesh, and I like to do that with the mesh visible on top so I can make sure I'm catching every section of it, especially along the top edge. I tried really hard to make these stretchy pockets by using tubular webbing and elastic, and I got it to work, but I was just not a fan of this look, and the process was not very beginner friendly. Let me know in the comments if you like this Frenchy look, and if you'd want to see how to make them. After sewing those 4 webbing pieces, I moved on to the center pockets. I swapped machines here because that's one of the perks of working at Sailrite, but this binder is pretty easy to take on and off, or just swing it out of the way when not in use. Both of these pockets and eventually the bag opening are getting bound with this new Top Gun binding. And it's called that because Tom Cruise actually invented this. As he was flying in a fighter jet on the set for the movie, he decided, this isn't cool enough. I need to go down back to Earth and create the thinnest yet strongest binding tape I can that has a waterproof acrylic coating. Just kidding. But it is exciting in its own way. But Tom Cruise has no affiliation that I know of. I made the tops of these pockets curved just because I think it looks a bit more interesting and professional, and they could be called the Mission Impossible pockets because they actually conceal what you put inside of them, unlike the other mesh pockets. Alright, that's all my Tom Cruise references for today. If I added another one, that'd be risky business. The next few steps involve assembling the front and back panels with the pockets and webbing handles. I haven't seen people do it the way I'm about to show you, but I found that I really like the workflow. I start by marking an 8-inch line on both ends of the webbing, since that's how tall my pockets are. I place the pocket face down along that line and sewed it in place 1/8 of an inch from the edge. When I got to the end, I grabbed the mesh pocket and butted that against the other half, and then sewed down that side. This pocket should face down as well. This seam bastes the pockets to the webbing, and when I flip it over, the seam is completely hidden because my thread matches the webbing. We would normally use basting tape for something like this, but I don't want to use basting tape anywhere on a see-through bag. After attaching all the pockets to the webbing in this way, you should have 2 assemblies that look like this. Then I clipped each pocket assembly to the front and back panels. And I keep calling them front and back, but these are identical. Before sewing this in place, I need to make my pocket pleats. I don't really have a formula for this part. Generally, I think 2 pleats looks nice, and I like to fold them towards the outside edges of the pocket. But however you decide to fold them, just try to keep them consistent across all 4 pockets while clipping and sewing. The next step is to fully secure the webbing to the front and back panels, which will also divide the front into 3 pockets. I stitch from the bottom up to the top, did some reversing about 1 inch from the bag opening to add some strength, then sewed down the other side. Repeat that for all 4 areas where the webbing is connected to the bag. The last little pieces to add to these panels are the buckle straps. These are each 2.5 inches long and 3/4 inches wide to fit my buckle. I'm centering these on the inside of the bag opening because I thought it would be nice to have some kind of closure if this gets thrown in a trunk or rolls around in a boat. All the panels are prepped, so now it's time to build the bag. I clip the front and back panels face down to the bottom panel, and sewed them with 3/8 inch seam allowance. I took an extra second to trim those layers flush because this is going to be the only unbound seam on the whole bag, so might as well make it look as good as you can. Then I folded the seam allowance towards the bottom panel and top stitched. Do that for both sides and you'll have a big rectangle assembly that looks like this. Fold it in half with the right sides together and clip it in place. So all the way down each side, again with 3/8 inch seam allowance. After sewing, I marked 3 inches from the bottom, which is where I want my binding to stop. Long story short, that 3-inch section will be hidden soon, and leaving it unbound helps cut down on some bulk in a couple key areas. While the bag is still inside out, I went ahead and bound the entire bag opening. I like doing this at this point because the top side of the stitching ends up on the exterior of the bag, and that side usually looks a little bit cleaner. Although the swing away binder does do an amazing job of keeping the seam uniform either way. I don't know how I ever sewed binding without one of these. When you turn it right side out, it'll look like a bag, but don't get too excited because it won't really function like one without a gusset. There's tons of ways to make one, but I'm going with this style that's got the triangle flap. You might have seen something like this on the classic LL Bean tote bag. To make one this way, mark a square on all 4 of the bottom corners. This pattern is designed for a 3.5 inch square. Then pinch each corner flat and crease it where the opposite corners of the square meet. That should create a straight line across both halves of the bag that you'll sew across. Do the same exact thing for the other side and do not cut that triangle section of excess material. I hope you're warmed up by now because here's the hardest step. Turn the bag inside out one last time to top stitch the triangle flaps down. The hard part here isn't the sewing. It's just getting this big bag positioned just right so you can get it under the presser foot at the bag's deepest possible point. Once I wrestled it into place, I made sure the corners were pushed all the way out and the tip of the triangle lined up with the side seam. Sew it in place in that position and pray you don't run out of bobbin halfway through the seam like I did.
You're kidding me. I ran out of bobbin on the last seam. Oh, that's a bad place to run out of bobbin.
I wound another bobbin for the last 30 stitches of the bag and finished up the seam. Turn the bag right side out one final time and check out that awesome gusset. And remind yourself, it was totally worth the struggle. That wraps up this project. The possibilities are endless because Phifertex comes in multiple different colors, weaves, and patterns. I'll leave links to all the materials I used in the description below. And let us know in the comments if you'd want to see something like this as a DIY kit, which includes all the materials, a full-scale pattern, and a more detailed video. Speaking of kits, this is the last one we made, so check out that project next. Thanks for watching.